Begin, excuse me, another drink. We begin with the words of Chip Rausch. Deeper than DNA, more fundamental than molecules or quarks, at our living core, we are wholeness and transfiguring love. We often forget that power, becoming lonely or resentful, comparing ourselves to others, acting out of fear rather than living our glory. Occasionally, we rouse from our trance to remember our wholeness. For a time, we embody unsentimental love. We make efforts to wake others and to remain fully present ourselves. Our lives and our time here together are made sacred by our striving. For this time and for the rest of our lives, may we be more aware of the spirit of life evolving through and among us. So may we be. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing our opening hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. It's number 1008 on your teal hymnals, and also the words are on your screen.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
And I invite you to remain risen for our chalice lighting and then for our covenant words.
Our chalice lighting words are from Reverend Maureen Killoran. Love is the aspiration, the spirit that moves and inspires this faith we share. Rightly understood, love can nurture our spirits and transform the world. May the flame of this chalice honor and embody the power and the blessing of love.
And now I invite you to join me in saying our covenant words together, first in English and then in Spanish. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, thus do we covenant. La doctrina de esta iglesia es el amor. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es su oración. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en libertad, servir a la humanidad en comunión. Este es nuestro pacto.
Good morning. And welcome to the weekly Sunday worship service of Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Todd Covert. I use he and him as my pronouns, and it is my privilege to serve as worship associate this morning. I want to thank you in advance for silencing your electronic devices and for supporting the well-being of our community by wearing a mask during the service. Emerson has been a welcoming congregation offering a home for open and inclusive spirituality in the West San Fernando Valley since 1954. We are proud to be part of the Unitarian Universalist Association, which centers love at the core of a commitment to equity, justice, generosity, personal transformation, pluralism, and a respect for the interconnected web of all beings in the cosmos. Here at Emerson, we invite you to bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, and above all, your expansive spirit. We join in person here in our sanctuary in Canoga Park to explore and advance these values on land that was appropriated from its original inhabitants, the Tataviam, Chumash, and Quiche peoples. They've suffered the loss of their lands and the suppression of their languages and customs. If we are to truly live our stated principles, we can never truly do so without first committing to supporting, in whatever ways we can, the restoration of the cultures of the traditional stewards of these lands, who have so long suffered under the forces of racism and colonialism. Let us so commit. We gather today for worship both in this physical church and online on Zoom. To our members and friends joining us in both spaces, I extend a welcome and a thank you for your ongoing fellowship and support. If you're new to Emerson, I hope you find this service both spiritually and intellectually engaging, and that you feel truly welcomed. We encourage you to sign either our physical guest book out in the lobby, or sign our virtual guest book, which should be linked in the chat on Zoom. In either place, you can sign up to receive our weekly newsletter, which includes not only service announcements, but also information about other Emerson program offerings, both in person and online. Also in the Zoom chat, you should find a link to our virtual book of life, where you can share any joy or concern you'd like shared aloud with the congregation during the service. And as always, those of you here in the sanctuary can share those names or occasions on our physical book of life, just behind our music director, Kevin, on the table there. If you'd like to get to know us better, please join us for coffee hour in our pavilion behind the sliding doors to my right, your left. Or after the service, you can join in a virtual coffee hour in breakout rooms on Zoom. And now, before I turn the pulpit over to our settled minister, Reverend Matthew McHale, for A Story for All Ages, let's take a moment now to greet our neighbors in a spirit of fellowship, and please feel free to use this opportunity to share a joy or concern in the Book of Life.
Good morning. How are you doing? Good. How are you doing? She's doing okay. She's, got some tough news. Two more breaks in her spine, so she's in a lot of pain. But she's hanging in there still.
Is she mobile at all, or is it all wheelchair?
She is mobile, not very much. She has a walker, and she can get to the bathroom and back, and that's pretty much what she does. So occasionally she'll venture into the kitchen, but it's for short bursts, and it's very painful for her to walk around. So, yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
Old though?
She's 92. Yeah, I know, it's true. It is. It really is. So, I'm worried about her because the doctor says, these breaks were just for nothing, really, just because her bones are just so fragile now. So, anyway.
No, that's good. I mean, still has something to deal with.
Yeah,
So.
it is. So,
And I think no matter what else, as long as they can always keep themselves safe.
that's right, exactly. It's true. It's true. So, I'm going back this next week, and so when I do, I'm gonna put some. She loves planting. She's lived in this piece of ground for her whole life, pretty much. So I'm gonna put some seed starts so that she can start just in her bedroom, so she can just look at it. She can water if she wants to, or whatever she wants. She's. I think that'll bring her a lot of joy. It's kind of a silly thing, but I think she'll love it. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And she'll know it's her name.
Yeah, it's true.
It is good to be together this morning. I'm the Reverend Matthew McHale, minister here at Emerson, and my pronouns are he and him. And so this morning, I have for our story for all ages, it's a story called Love is Powerful by Heather Dean Brewer, illustrated by Li Wen Pham. Mari spilled her crayons onto the table. They made a messy rainbow. "What are we coloring, Mama?" she asked. Mama smiled. "A message for the world." Mari ran to the window and pressed her nose to the glass. Far below, people walked in different directions. Buses, cars, and taxis honked and grumbled down the busy street. Mari asked, "How will the world hear?" "They'll hear," Mama said, "because love is powerful." Mari climbed onto her Mama's lap. The crayons smelled sharp and new. Mama used one to write some letters, and even though Mama's words stretched across the poster, they would be too small for the world to read, Mari thought. Mari picked up a crayon. As she made her own sign, she imagined her friends in their apartments across the city. Grandma and Grandpa a plane ride away, and all the people in other countries. Mari wondered, how will the whole world see our message? Mama hugged her close. "They'll see," she said, "because love is powerful." Mama handed her a coat, and then they both laced up their shoes. Mari tucked the posters under one arm and held Mama's hand with the other. They slipped through the elevator doors. Down, down, down they went, all the way to the lobby. Mari hopped onto the sidewalk, then stopped and looked up. The street was packed with people. more people than she'd seen in her entire life. Mari tugged on her mama's arm and asked her to kneel down. Then she whispered in Mama's ear, "Mama, it's so loud. There's so many people. They won't hear our message." Mama said, "They will, little Mari." Mama lifted Mari up, and for a moment she felt like she was flying. On top of Mama's shoulders, Mari could see the crowd swell for blocks, hundreds and thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people marching down the street. Some held signs like Mari's, all saying different things. Everyone cheered as they walked together. Mama joined them. Mari bobbed above the cloud like a canary fluttering over the trees. She felt as tall as one of the buildings. Mari raised her sign up for everyone to see. Even though she was small, and the crowd very big, so big she didn't think anyone would hear, she called out her message. Through the roar, her voice was heard, and someone shouted the message back. Mari yelled again, and more joined in. Again, she yelled the message. This time, when the crowd called back, Mari's message rumbled down the streets and echoed off the building. It was as loud as breaking waves. Love is powerful. This is a note from Mari, who is, as you can see, a real girl. She says, "I was only 6 years old, but I knew why we were there. We went to the Women's March along with hundreds of thousands of people that cold day to show that love really is powerful. When we joined the crowd at the march, I couldn't see that well and was tired of walking. My mom lifted me up onto her shoulders. When I called out, 'Love is powerful,' to my surprise, the people close to me repeated it back. Each time I said it, more people joined in. Soon, hundreds of people were echoing my chant of 'Love is powerful.' At that moment, I really felt its power. One voice can be heard, and one voice can make a difference. Don't be afraid to speak up. And remember to speak up not just for yourself, but for other people too. Love, Mari." And now I invite you to join me in saying our UU affirmation together. There's some hand signals, which are pretty easy to pick up if you want to follow along with me, if you don't know them already. We are Unitarian Universalists, a people of open minds, loving hearts, and welcoming hands.
In our service today, we are exploring the place of love at the heart of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Emerson is proud to be part of the Unitarian Universalist Association and share in its values of justice, equity, and compassion. Like all UU congregations, we are self-supporting and rely on the generosity of you, the members of this community, to support our mission. To that end, each week, in a worshipful spirit, we take up an offering for the support of Emerson in its ministries. But as part of our commitment to serving our community, each month we share half of our offerings with a local organization whose mission aligns with our own. This month, The recipient is the the San Fernando Valley Refugee Children's Center. The mission of the center is to provide a healing embrace and a dignified welcome to children and their families who have made the perilous journey from from south of the U.S.-Mexico border. They aim to offer the center as a hopeful refuge that provides support through a holistic approach to basic needs, opportunities for personal development, enrichment activities, and access to legal and social services, thus easing the transition of children and their families to a new life in the United States. We invite you to make your offering via the Breeze app or online at our website, donate.emersonuuc.org, or you can send a check to our physical address in Canoga Park. Please note on it in the memo, share the plate, or if you include your monthly pledge, please do note that in the memo line as well. And so now, let the offering be taken up.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
In light of all that continues to trouble our world, particularly in the conflict in Israel and Palestine, I offer this prayer from Joan Javier Duval. So I invite you to join me now in a spirit of meditation or prayer to just drop into this moment. Spirit of love, source of compassion, we know in this moment profound sorrow at the great destruction our human hands can induce. Though we might encounter confusion within ourselves and a cacophony of voices and opinions all around, let us meet with compassion the fear and despair felt by so many who are once again, or for the first time, staring down the barrel of a gun, who are fleeing for their lives through debris-filled streets, who are mourning the dead under a flurry of bombs, who are searching for the lost, the taken, the assaulted but escaped. Let us offer our own prayers with all those who pray for peace. Let us join our voices of outrage with all those who cry out against oppression. Let us join our hands with all those who strive for freedom. Let us insist on a universal love that casts no one to the side of dispensable and exterminatable other. O sacred source of life that encompasses us all, may we find solace in this time of turmoil. May we find courage though we are scared. And may we speak and act with compassion and humility so that wisdom and peace prevail. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. Each week in our service, we take time to lift up those joys and sorrows in the wider world and within our own community. This week, in our book of life, Lynn Prager writes, I was in a writing workshop for many years, but now I and one last friend are the only ones still living. This week I learned that my friend has lung cancer. And in our virtual book of life, Nicole writes, a joy. It is so good to be together, whether in person or virtual. We are so blessed to be in community at Emerson. In a moment, I'll sound this singing bowl, and after I do, I invite you to speak into this space or to type into the chat any joys or sorrows, any names or occasions that are on your heart this morning and that you would like lifted up into this community in this, our embracing meditation. Mitra. Deborah. Joanna. All that has been shared and all that we hold in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. We offer these into the embrace of this beloved community. I invite you to join me in singing the song, There is a Love. A reminder that in all times, no matter what we are going through, there is a love holding us.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love.
There's a love holding us.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
Let's sing that again. Us.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
We rest.
We rest in this love.
The poet Yeats once wrote, "What if excess of love bewildered them till they died?" I've always found that phrase haunting and suggestive. Excess of love. I've been thinking a lot about love, and I suppose that's not surprising given this service topic, and that love is this month's worship theme. But more broadly, I've been drawn to reflecting on love since our congregation first introduced to us the proposal to revamp the Statement of Values and Purposes in the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association. That revision, which we're discussing today, centers love at the heart of our UU faith. I've also been thinking about extremism. And with what's going on in the world, I suppose that can't be too surprising. But really, I think religious extremism has been upwelling for well more than a generation now, and it's troubled me, as I'm sure it has you, all along. Now, the violent manifestations of religious extremism are tragic, and I don't want to undermine our reactions of compassion and condemnation. But I have to admit that I've found myself wondering what it would mean to be a religious extremist in a religion founded on love. Poking around on the web, I found that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King had already posed a version of the same rhetorical question. In Dr. King's words, "The question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists we will be. Will we be extremists for hate or for love? Will we be extremists for the preservation of injustice or for the extension of justice?" Our proposed statement of values centered on love includes, among others, justice and equity. So it seems to me that we should be what Dr. King clearly implied to be the right kind of extremists. The only nagging fear I have in thinking about this, though, is how can we, both as individuals and a faith community, know that we are truly acting in love, that we are not deceiving ourselves in that in crafting a new statement of values, we truly center love? Can we be mistaken about love? I have to admit, I have been in love with the idea of being in love my whole adult life. I spent virtually all of 31 years in 2 long marriages with a 4-year relationship in between them. And I have always professed that I loved my life partners. So now, after 7 years on my own, on my own for the first time since 1985, I think, I'm in love again. But with no disrespect intended to those with whom I shared my life before, this feels different, filled with spontaneous joy and worry at unexpected moments. My love for my partner, Deb, seems of a magnitude greater than in my previous relationships, which makes me wonder if I might have been misleading myself in the past. Was I saying I was in love because I wanted to be, or even because I wanted to be seen to be? I'm not prepared to say any more now than that this is different, but that difference makes me think about love at the center of our UU faith. So if you attended last week's service, you heard Reverend Matthew unpack the various terms the ancient Greeks had for all that we term love. In articulating his sense of what the UUA is intending with the word and its place at the center of our values, Reverend Matthew pointed to the Greek word agape, which, since its adoption in the Christian New Testament, both encompasses and exceeds mere human love relationships. It is transcendent and selfless love, unconditional love, as Reverend Matthew spoke of it. And it is often used to speak of love of all beings in the interconnected web of the cosmos without expectation of return. Could I be mistaken in this kind of love, the one that our new value statement rests on, to act passionately in ways not really extending compassion and empathy to all humanity, but perhaps only to a comfortable portion of the population, which is a kind of self-love rather than a love of all beings without recompense? Might I act to be approved of, not out of truly selfless love? I don't know. I can't answer that. I can only try, though, to be guided by what I believe is love as it reveals itself to me in the moment. And ultimately, to return to Dr. King's words, being an extremist for even a compromised love is preferable, surely, to being an extremist for hate. So now, in the spirit of embracing unconditional and transcendent love, I invite you to please join in our next hymn, which is derived from the Buddhist metta-meditation, a practice which can help us deepen our sense of compassion for all beings. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing Filled with Loving Kindness. It's number 1031 in the Teal hymnal.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
This past summer, at our Unitarian Universalist Association's General Assembly, one big focus was on Article 2 of the bylaws of our association. And I know a bunch of you probably just heard Article 2 and bylaws and just immediately checked out. Is he seriously talking about bylaws in a sermon? Jeez. I mean, sounds incredibly boring, right? I suppose I set myself up for that, right? Yeah, it is. But that section of the bylaws includes our Unitarian Universalist principles and purposes. Our first principle, for instance, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And so that part of our bylaws, which is essentially a legal document, has taken on a significant theological and spiritual meaning for many of us as Unitarian Universalists. It is, in fact, central to our understanding of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. So I think this is why it is important. This is why we're talking about it this morning. And so at the General Assembly, over 80% of the delegates voted in what is the first year of a 2-year process to continue the conversation about these proposed changes to Article 2. And these changes, which I'm talking about and which Todd also referenced, would shift not who we are as Unitarian Universalists or what we believe, but the language we use to describe ourselves. And the big changes would move us from our principles, as I mentioned earlier, to our values. These 7 you can see on the screen. Excuse me. Interdependence, generosity, pluralism, justice, equity, and transformation, and with love as the central value from which all others flow. Excuse me. And that's one of the biggest changes to me, because love, the word and the concept, was conspicuously absent from our principles. And so now, not only is love included, it's right there at the center. And I quote, "Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values." Now, back in February, I preached about the relatively recent history of our 7 principles, including how our principles have changed over the decades and even centuries to reflect the growing diversity of our theological beliefs, to eliminate earlier sexist language that referred to men when what it meant was people, and to reflect our respect and reverence for the environment, which so many of us feel is a central part of our faith. And in the last several years, the push to adopt an 8th principle that articulates a commitment to racial justice and the work of anti-oppression. And all of these changes reflect the fact that ours is a living tradition. I know many of you probably don't pick up your hymnals anymore because the words are on the screen, but if you look on the gray hymnal right there on the cover, the hymnal is called Singing the Living Tradition. And what that means is that we are always growing and changing as our understandings change and as our world changes. Ours is not a static religion that believes that revelation is sealed. And although the words have changed over the years and may change yet again, there are other things which are constants, through lines in our faith. The use of reason and the right of conscience in guiding our beliefs. Finding inspiration in the words and deeds of those ancestors who have preached compassion and worked for justice. And a commitment to working for peace and justice in our time on earth. That there is spiritual wisdom found in many sources, not just one or a couple sacred texts, but in many sources, both sacred and secular, old and new. And that we are called to the work of love. Loving ourselves, loving our neighbor, loving the stranger, the other, whomever that may be. Think of it as that filled with loving kindness, radiating ever outward, starting with ourselves until it expands and encompasses everything. That's that meta, that agape love that I talked about last Sunday. And now, 37 years after our current principles were adopted, our world has changed a lot in that time. And we have changed along with it. And so, building on the feedback from thousands of Unitarian Universalists, a study commission offered this set of values. And so I want to go through them with you. And so each one will be up on the screen if you'll read along with me. Love is the power that holds us together. Go ahead, read with me. And is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. We covenant to cherish earth and all beings by creating and nurturing relationships of care and respect. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Now, some of you may have noticed that a lot of the language in those reflects the language of our 7 principles. So it's not so much that we are abandoning them so much as they are taking on a new form. And it's an ongoing process. And so at our General Assembly this past June, there were several amendments proposed, 5 of which were adopted, and those are going to be incorporated. So the words will change slightly. Those will be released sometime before December. I was hoping they would be out by today, but I was not so. And we'll have more opportunities to talk, and then all of that will be voted on at our General Assembly in June, where it would require 2/3 support to pass. And so given the amendments, it's inevitable that some of the proposed language is going to change, but not these core values. These, with love at the center, are ours to engage in ways that generate and strengthen our beloved Unitarian Universalism. And if you want to engage more deeply, we'll also have a discussion about these changes after the service next week, which is going to be led by those of us who attended our UUA General Assembly in June, when these changes were first preliminarily adopted. So I hope you'll join us next Sunday after the service for that program. And there will be several other opportunities to learn more and have conversations in the coming months before that final vote next June. And to me, the value is not just the updated language of the proposed changes, but the conversations that are springing up about this within our congregations, about what our values are, about what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist in this day and age, and where we are headed. And those are conversations worth having. And that's why I'm also excited that for the next several months, our monthly worship theme aligns with each one of these values, which started, of course, this month with love. And I've really enjoyed exploring love in more depth this month. And one of the other things I love about this change is, as you were reading through that, you may have noticed that each value, if you want to, Adam, if you could bring up the previous one just as an example. So each one has the word and then a short definition of the word. And then following that is each line starts with "we covenant." And all of those, and we are a covenantal faith, which means we make agreements with one another as individuals, and also covenants between our congregations. But what I love about these parts, is that they call us to action, which was noticeably missing from our principles, because we have to act them out. And it makes me think about the fact that love isn't just a noun. Love is also a verb. Love is something we do. And it's by taking actions that we make that a reality, that we start to bring those values into greater presence into the world. And so I very much appreciate that commitment to action. And I also really like the questions that Todd raised in his reflection about whether we can be sure that we're acting out of love, and not just a narrow love that only includes those within our circles, but an expansive love that includes all of humanity, indeed all of creation. Because this love at the center that we are called to live out of is not a narrow love applied only to some that leaves others outside of its circle. It is an expansive love. I think we can be led astray if our love is too narrow, if it is limited to those within our circles of family and friends, or maybe expanding outward a little our neighbors or our tribe, our fellow citizens. Even limiting ourselves just to love for humanity and not all of creation, which is at the root of the ecological crises that we face. If we care about the interdependent web because we recognize if we care about the interdependent web because we recognize that its health is necessary for our well-being, it's hard not to see the importance of acting for that broader love. But of course, we can also apply that narrowly, because if you only care about your local environment and not, say, the way that the mining of tar sands crude is destroying the boreal forests of Canada, well, I think we've lost the plot. If we only look at justice for Israel after the horrific attacks on Israeli civilians by Hamas, but ignore at the same time the blockade of Gaza over the past 17 years and the current total siege, as Israeli leaders called it, that has seen cutting off of food and fuel and electricity and water, and a relentless bombing campaign for the past 2 weeks that has already killed 4,300 people, more than half of whom are women and children, that is not true justice. Love doesn't act out of vengeance, as vengeance only begets more vengeance, prolonging the cycle of violence. I want to leave you with the words of the late Bell Hooks, for they ground us, I think, in the importance of that love, of why it's so important to come from love in all of our actions. Without love, our efforts to liberate ourselves and our world community from oppression and exploitation are doomed. As long as we refuse to address fully the place of love in struggles for liberation, we will not be able to create a culture of conversion where there is a mass turning away from an ethic of denomination. And so I agree with Todd that it is sometimes hard to know when we are acting, if we are acting out of that true expansive love and not a narrow love. I will say that if we are acting out of love, if we try, we know that it is better than to act out of hate, and know that we can take comfort in that and resolve in that love is powerful. And still to remind ourselves constantly to be ever widening that circle of love until it embraces all of the living. May it be so. A few announcements we have a lot going on in the next month. In fact, even the next week. So coming up November 18th is our Fall Festival and Auction. It's a great event. It's our annual event. There will be lots of good food and entertainment, and the ability to bid in a silent auction and a live auction on all sorts of fun outings, items, that people have that they're donating, as well as services that people offer. And so I invite you, there's information on the website and the e-blast. You can also use your phones to follow the QR codes to RSVP, as well as to contribute. Of course, our auction requires us to offer things for people to share, and so we already have a number of things there, and we're looking for more. And so I know some of you may not be thinking about it or maybe intending to do it, so I invite you to do that now. And if you're not sure what you might offer, you can go on there and see what other people have offered to get inspiration. This is our major fundraiser for the year. This is our largest for the year, so it's really important for our financial health. And it's also a lot of fun, so I hope to see you there. And just to give you an example of one of the types of things that happens, our next slide. Melissa Marotte is hosting a Halloween karaoke and Halloween costume contest next Saturday at her house. The address is there. It's kind of small. It's also on your order of service. You can find it there. And so this actually started out as an event from last year, and then I think got delayed a little bit, and then it opened to everyone. So it should be a really good time Saturday night. And this is a fundraiser for Emerson, so it's a $25 suggested donation, and you can RSVP with Melissa. We had a lot of fun last year. She held a similar karaoke thing. A lot of people showed up. It was great. This year, I can't wait to sing, I don't know, like the Monster Mash or I Put a Spell on You. We'll see. And then next to it, also on going back, Adam. There you go. The following day, next Sunday, is we're having a pumpkin carving and pizza party on Sunday night. So that should be a lot of fun. It's just bring your own pumpkins and carving tools and a drink and just some money for some cash for pizza. If you have any questions, you can contact Nicole. I think it should be a lot of fun, and it's a great timing because as those of us who have been carving pumpkins here in LA know, if you carve them more than like 5 days in advance, they get very sad. And so this is 2 days before. So it's a great opportunity to carve some pumpkins and do it in community. And then finally, this coming Friday, I told you there's a lot of stuff going on next Friday, in addition to the workshop about the changes to Article 2. Each on the last Friday of the month, we watch a film and then discuss its themes in this in the Sunday service. This month, it's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So this is, if I had to pick, this would be my favorite movie of all time. It's a wonderful, kind of mind-bending, I don't even know how to describe it. I have a trailer that will kind of get at it, so if we can show that.
I'm Clementine, by the way.
I'm Joel.
Hi, Joel. No jokes about my name. You like?
You look like a tangerine.
I want to be a great, big, huge elephant.
You're trying to figure out, did I have sex with someone tonight?
Isn't that how you get people to like you?
Here at Lacuna, we have a safe technique for the focused erasure of troubling memories.
Is there any risk of brain damage?
Technically, the procedure is brain damage, but it's on a par with a night of heavy drinking. Nothing you'll miss.
I mean, my head already hurted.
That baby's history.
It's all being wiped away.
They're erasing you, Clem. You'll be gone by morning.
Whoa, careful. What? Step back. Roach the guy.
I loved you on this day. Please let me keep this memory.
The eraser guys are coming here.
Wake yourself up.
We're working like gangbusters.
I need somewhere deeper.
Can you hear me? I don't want this anymore. I want to call it off.
He's off the map. Seem to have lost him for a moment.
Oh, dear.
Are you sure?
I'm so sure.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
I want my mommy.
This is sort of warped.
So you can only kind of get the sense of what the film is there. I'm sure many of you have seen it. If you've seen it, though, as someone who's seen it like half a dozen times, it rewards multiple rewatching. So if it's been a while, come check it out. I think it'll be, and if you've never seen it before, come check it out. It's a great film about love and relationships and loss and regret and memory. It's kind of hard to articulate. I'm not even sure what I'm going to say on Sunday, but I think it'll be good. So I hope to see you at some of those events this coming weekend. And now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing our closing hymn, Love will guide us, number 131 in your gray hymnal.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak me for thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
I invite you, as our service comes to a close, to reach out and take a hand or bump elbows, touch a shoulder, whatever feels comfortable to you. As I extinguish our chalice. For those of you joining us on Zoom, we send our energy out to you and ask you to send your energy to everyone else on Zoom and those here in the sanctuary. I offer you these words by D. Scott Cooper. The world aches for us to join together and bring about healing, toil for justice, and produce ever-increasing love. This is our calling. Go forth and act accordingly. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
Oh, that's okay. It's a kind of it's true. It's kind of Perhaps Love by John Denver.
Yeah. I knew.
Love is like the. I should have sung it actually. Perhaps love instead of just playing it as a prelude. I should have just. Sometimes I think I should do that. You know, I've got the mic here, and sometimes I think instead of